Welcome back to the Dencrn channel. My name is Den. Today, this is like my 5th video with this laptop, but today we are going to teach, or I'm going to teach you how to Hackintosh and also dual boot it with Windows. But before we do that, I need to grab something. We're going to use this on this instead of my 250 gig SSD that's in here because I've got Windows running on this and I really don't want to have to format it. Honestly, I really don't want to. So welcome to the Opencore install guide part of this video. This is also where I should tell you to not use this as a tutorial to get your Opencore install working. If you absolutely need help, the Hackintosh Paradise Discord is a great way to learn some new things as well as get some help for, you know, basic Opencore stuff. But do not use this as a tutorial. You must read this on your own. I'm pretty much just going to show you what I have to do for my computer. But I also do have the UEFI already done because I've previously Hackintoshed if you've seen my previous videos. We're going to press getting started. I'm doing this on Windows. However, you can do this inside of Linux and macOS. Honestly, I will agree with the first one. Time and patience is the absolute thing that you need the most when Hackintoshing. You do also need to know what your hardware is. So your CPU name and generation, your GPUs, if you have an AMD or an older NVIDIA GPU. Also, basic knowledge of a command line, such as terminal or command prompt, because this will come in handy later. Compatibility as well. So if it's all supported, you need a minimum of a 16 gig USB or at most a 4 gig USB if you're doing this inside of Windows or Linux. An Ethernet connection. So you must get Ethernet. So if you have your router nearby, plug that into your computer because you will need this. Okay, sorry to pause the video real quick, but I just realized that you can also use a Wi-Fi connection, depending on if your Wi-Fi card is supported inside of macOS and you already have the KEX prior to the installer. You will need a operating system to do it. You can't just do this inside of like MS-DOS. You do need either a macOS install from around a couple years ago, Windows from Windows 10 1703 to now, and any sort of Linux that supports Python 2.7 or later. Minimum for Windows users, 15 gigs should be fine. And the latest BIOS on your laptop. I'm technically not on the latest because the latest driver has an issue with sleeping, like inside of Windows. So yeah, we're going to go into hardware limitations. So if you want the best support for macOS, get Intel. Honestly, from up to 10th gen is where you should be up to because 11th gen and onwards doesn't really work. Jesus Christ, the worst. So we're going to get into the support, CPU support. So both 32 and 64-bit CPUs are supported, but if you want to go into the newer OSs like Monterey and above and all that, I think it's after Mojave that dropped 32-bit support. What version of Mac OS dropped 32-bit support? It was Mojave, yeah, that dropped 32-bit. Mainly focused on the Intel sides. You can get this working on AMD, but there is limitations, such as VM's not pretty much working at all. Adobe support, I don't know. Yeah, Adobe support's a bit of an issue. 32-bit support just, I don't think will work at all. I could be wrong, but yeah. GPU support, mainly focused on AMDs because NVIDIA is a bit old, as the max version for macOS for those GPUs is High Sierra. Any RTX 20 series and above and GTX 16 cards are not supported in any version of macOS. So pretty much any RTX card from the 20 series to now is not supported in macOS, as well as the 40 series, should I say. Kepler, so 600 GTX 600 700 are supported to Big Sur. And pretty much iGPUs are pretty much supported to current, depending on the CPU as well. I think laptop for discrete GPUs, 90% of them will not work at all. So yeah, here is all the GPU support and all that. Please do read the Opencore guide and actually properly read it. I'm gonna just skip most of this because I have done all this in the past. Find your hardware. So this is where you can open up like AIDA64 or device manager for your CPU and GPU, as well as your chipset and technically your keyboard, trackpad, and touchscreen. So we're going to open up device MGR or device manager, should I say. I'm doing this on my main computer, so this is not going to work at all. So if you want to find your hardware, you need to, for your CPU, you need to go into processors. So here, I'm doing this entire tutorial on a Ryzen 7, which this entirely does not work on macOS because of the fact that I also have a NVIDIA GPU. To get your GPU model, you press display adapters, and it should show up as your GPU. This shows up as NVIDIA because I'm doing this on my main, but I'm not doing macOS on this exact computer because of the fact that this is a NVIDIA GPU, and even with this CPU, it will not work. As well as, let's get the chipset model. So we need to go into system devices and find either the AMD part or the AMD chipset or the Intel if you are running Intel. Denpods. Oh my god, that's my AirPods. And the keyboard trackpad and yeah. You pretty much understand it if you just read this very slowly. Read all of it, honestly. But we're going to go down to creating the USB down in USB creation. So we're doing this in Windows, so we're going to do this in Windows. We do need to format the USB in FAT32 because this is a 128 gig USB. Sorry for pausing the video again. I just need to come in and say that if your USB is bigger than 16 gigabytes, you need to use a third-party program such as Rufus or another program that can format it into a large FAT32 file system. In this instance, I had to format it using Rufus, I think, if I remember. Yes, it's a 128 gig USB. So we need to run Rufus. So rufus.ie. I'll leave the link to that in the description below. Standard or portable pretty much does the same thing, but I will be doing standard for this. So we'll run Rufus. Here we go. Select the USB, which is this one. Select non-bootable, and then set the file system to large, FAT32. Just leave this here. You can name the USB macOS USB. You can name it whatever. I think there is a character limit though of I think 16 characters. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this would be 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So if I do this, USB is 16 characters. So this would be like 1, 2, 3, 16. It would stop there. So this is what it would show up as. So I can even show you proof. So if I press start, on here will be destroyed. So please do a backup if you, let's say, use this for like personal files, which is what I kind of do, but I also store my Windows ISOs on here as well. Press yes. This drive contains multiple partitions. It's because this is also my Ventor USB. So press OK again, and it will just delete partitions and also rewrite it. I cannot speak, but just like that, it's done. So now if I open File Explorer, never mind, it's longer than 16 characters. Okay, well, yeah, normally it doesn't do that, but for this instance, it will. Once the USB is done formatting, we're going to press this macrecovery.py. So this will open up the GitHub package, which you need to download the 0.9, the latest pretty much. I think I've got 0.98 on here, like on my macOS, but I'm going to just use that as of right now because it's completely fine. We're going to extract this. I'm using 7-zip for this, but you can use the Windows extract all, which does the exact same thing. So click on this, then you need to click on utilities, find Mac Recovery, which is, give me a second, right here. And now you see this, you will need to go back into here. And the easiest way to do this is to just type up here, CMD, and it will just go straight into the directory. However, you can also open up CMD by using your run command or also your start menu. I will use the run command. You also do need to run this as admin. So if you're doing this through the run command, do Control and Shift and press enter and then press yes. It will open up an admin CMD window as well. I think you need admin for this. I don't think you do. So you can just type regular CMD and it will just open up. If you want to just do the easiest way, type it up in here. It goes straight to the directory, but you can also do this, CD, and then copy and paste the directory and paste it into here, and it'll take you right there. And then when you're done, you can now choose which one you want to use. So make sure you also have Python installed as well. So if you don't have Python installed, just click that link and it'll take you to the Python website. And this is where you can download macOS. So for this tutorial, because my UEFI is created for Monterey, we're going to be doing Monterey. So we're just going to copy that, paste that into terminal. So Control V. Now, I've noticed that having Python 3 doesn't do anything. As you can see, Python 3 is not recognized as an internal or external command. So this is what I do. Get rid of the 3 and then press enter. Just like that, it will download this from apple.com. And this shouldn't take too long. The recovery is not that big. However, if you're doing macOS 12 and above, you need to fix your USB ports with USB Toolbox, which that's a whole different part. And if you just read the guide and it'll show you how to do it, because you can do it inside of Windows as well as macOS if you forget to do it. But because the method that we're doing is a recovery, we're doing Mac recovery, and it should show up like this. It should show up as recovery image.chunklist and DMG. You need to copy copy these two over to the USB when it's done. So as I've just done the Rufus part of this, if your USB is 16 gigs or lower, please use the disk management method, but you can also use the Rufus method as well. But if you like using command lines, trust me, diskpart is the way to do it for like legacy systems for non-UEFI pre-2012. So please read this slowly and figure out what's right for your system. Now that the macOS recovery is done and you've also formatted your USB into FAT32, you can now open up your USB, create a new folder, and call it com.apple.recovery.boot. Now that's done. You also want to go into the folder that you opened your Mac recovery in. So that would be this one. And as you can see, it is already done. So you can just press Control X and then put this into the USB. Just like that. Now that your recovery boot is inside of your USB, you might be thinking, yeah, okay, we can now boot now. You're wrong and you owe me an apology. So now that we've done that, we need to go into the Opencore release folder again. So this folder, and then where you see either IA32 is for 32-bit and X64 is for 64-bit. You need to copy this EFI folder over to your drive. Now that the EFI is inside the USB, you also might be thinking, yeah, okay, we can now boot. You're also wrong and you owe me an apology. So we're back into the Opencore guide. We need to now go into the setting up the EFI part of this tutorial, or guide, should I say? Sorry. You'll see these two folders called boot and OC. Now you pretty much need to pay attention as we've pretty much moved the EFI onto the USB itself. We also need to open up our EFI folder and pretty much see what's inside. So our boot should only contain our boot x64.EFI. I don't know why I have these as well. I think it's because I've also downloaded this from GitHub, but our OC should have at least open runtime and a couple others. So these are the ones that should, that are optional. So Open USB kbdxe.efi is required for non-UEFI systems pre-2012. Open partition DXE is required to boot macOS 10.7 to 9. And reset NVRAM entry.efi is technically required to reset the system's NVRAM, but it's an optional thing to have. However, open runtime.efi is required for the operation, so which is what I've got here. OpenShell.efi is recommended for easier debugging, but you don't need to have it. However, you do also need to have opencore.efi inside the OC folder. We need to gather, the drivers and kex and all that now. So SSDT and custom DSDTs are under the AML folder. So that's under the ACPI folder, which I have right here. Your ACPIs are going to be different to what I have. So please do not copy what I've got because it may not work on your computer. So we'll go into the gathering files. We'll go into universal because that's what you need. For the majority of systems, you only need 2 EFI drivers. So those would be the HFS plus.EFI and open runtime. So I've got these two right here, which is the ones that are required for UEFI systems. But for legacy, you've also got these are pretty much all the required. They will go into your drivers folder in your EFI. Kex. So these are the required kex. So Lilu is to get audio working, and virtual SMCs to emulate the SMC chip found on actual Mac. Without this, macOS will not boot. It's pretty much required for 10.4 and newer, so pretty much every version of Opencore, supports. Virtual SMC plugins, you will most likely need SMC processor if you're doing this on Intel. It's not required for AMD CPUs, but it requires 10.7 or newer. In my opinion, just follow all of these, read all of these. If you want graphics, whatever green is required. Audio, Apple ALC, and you do need to know what your codec is. So for me, if you go into the Apple ALC and read the Apple ALC GitHub, which should be here somewhere. The wiki is a good way to read it. So adding codec support, if you click on that, here we go. If you go into this part of the wiki, find your codec. These are pretty much all the ones that are still supported today. So the one that I have is this one. You pretty much need to give it one of these in the boot args later in the config of the boot. And then Ethernet. If you're running Intel, get Intel. Apple, required for these types of NICs. It's pretty much just read the guide, figure out what you have, and then put that into your hex folder. USBs for Big Sur and newer, you will need USB Toolbox. So that will be here. XHCI unsupported is needed for non-native USB controllers. If you're doing this on an AMD system, you do not need this. Wi-Fi, Bluetooth. For non-native Bluetooth cards, Bluetooth Fix-Up will do that. It patches it for macOS 12 and newer to support third-party cards. Also needed for non-Apple Broadcom, Intel, and etc. Bluetooth cards. Included for BRCM patch RAM zip, but do not use this on macOS 11 and earlier. Intel, pretty much all of these are useful. Alternative to airport. I cannot read today. When Apple Secure Boot cannot be enabled, requires heliport, Broadcom, AMD, extras. This is pretty much what you may need. I'm not going to be giving you any advice. I'm not going to tell you where to download these. Just read the guide very slowly and figure out what you need. If you're doing this on a desktop, read all of this. High-end desktop for some reason. Don't know why this is. Laptops. This is what I'm doing. So I'm doing this on a Haswell system. You'll need SSDT plug, EC, PNLF, GPI 0, and IRQ SSDT. So you can download all of these without having to run them. And you also need, that's about it, yeah. So now that's all done. We get started with ACPI. This is where hell starts. If you want this simplified, just use pre-built SSDTs. If you get stuck and it doesn't want to work, the Hackintosh Paradise Discord server is very helpful. I'll leave a link to that in the description below. This is pretty much the pain and suffering of all of this. This will give you all the problems that occur. And also, KEX also are here. These are the must-haves, virtual SMC, graphics and all that. Audio, Ethernet, USB, Wi-Fi, AMD specific KEX if you're running on AMD, SSDTs as well. This is where hell part 2 happens. So now that you've got all your KEX and firmware set up, it will probably look like something like this. You now need a little tool called Property, which is available on GitHub, created by Corp Newt. You'll probably know him from the Hackintosh Paradise Discord server as well. But you just press code, download zip. I think I also have it installed on here. Yeah, I do. I don't need to download it again. Just run this. If you're doing this on macOS, run .command. If you're running this on Windows, run .bat. If this comes up, just press yes and download it. But because I'm just doing this for tutorial sake, we're just going to show you. So I'm going to open this, open up OC, where it says config.plist. Double click on that. You'll see this. This is all a whole bunch of garbage, but do that. And then to pretty much get it all working properly, in my opinion. Oh, not only do you need Property, sorry, you also need Gen SM BIOS for a bit later. But this, pretty much this part is on your own. The video's gonna go for too long if I keep explaining it. But just read all this. This will help. The config plist must match the contents of the UEFI folder. If you delete the file but leave it, it will pretty much error out and stop booting. But any modifications you do, you can use the OC snapshot tool, which by doing that, you can press Control and R, which gives you this menu. It will say select OC folder. This is the OC folder. Press select folder. It will show you that it's been fiddled with. Press Control S to save. Just like that, it will say edited. Press Control S to save. Selecting your platform. So I'm doing this on Haswell, let's just say. But because I'm also doing this on a laptop, we're going to click on Haswell. Set all of these up properly. Read through this properly. Do not like speed run this. The good way to patch the whatever green is to read the actual patching guide as well. It may seem confusing at first, but trust me, if you read it properly and slowly, it won't be. The kernel, just follow what the guide says for most of this. If you're running this on a Dell or VAIO system, have this enabled. If you're running this on HP systems, have this enabled. Pretty much honestly, just keep following all this, read all this, and then run all this. Make sure all this stuff is done. Have all this in your boot args. So this enables verbose. I have this actually disabled. We know eGPU, so this pretty much this disables everything other than the Intel GPU. You should also set your keyboard language. So if you speak English and want the English keyboard, set the prevlang KBD to this and make sure it's set as string. Platform info, make sure you have the correct platform info. You'll need Gen SM BIOS for this. Gen SM BIOS. I actually don't have it installed. Okay, we'll download this. So press code, download zip again. Gen SM BIOS. Run this if you're on macOS, run this on Windows. And I don't remember how to get this working on inside of Linux, but the guide will tell you if you're doing this through Linux. This is pretty much what it does. It lets you generate SM BIOS, but also it's a bit confusing if you don't know what you're doing. So it does tell you what to put into here as well, as you can see. UEFI, make sure some of these are set. Enable this if you're on HP. Pretty much all the red boxes do. APFS, by default, Opencore only loads APFS drivers from Big Sur and newer. So if you're on High Sierra, do this. Mojave, set this. Catalina, set this. And anything newer than Catalina, set it to -1. Audio and all that, and then cleaning up. For those having boot issues, the Hackintosh subreddit, but also the Discord is very helpful. And I've noticed, I'll also leave that link to the server in the description below, as I've said many times in this video. Now, this is where I need to show you what you need to do inside the BIOS. Okay, once you have your computer booted up, go into your BIOS and you need to disable these settings. So you need to disable fast boot. So I need to find my fast boot. I don't think I have that on this system. Secure boot, you definitely need to disable. So make sure that's disabled. If you have a serial or COM port, have that disabled. I do not have any of those in this. Parallel port, also disable. VT-D, which I think is the virtualization technology, turn that off. But it can be enabled if you set disable IO mapper to yes inside the config. Compatibility support module, CSM, must be off. So in this instance, it is off. But it must be off in most cases. GPU errors / stalls like GIO are common when this option is enabled. I haven't actually noticed any issues with having it enabled on my system, so I'm going to just leave it enabled. Actually, no, just for the purpose of this video, I'm going to have it disabled. Thunderbolt for initial install must be off. Intel GSX, which I've never heard of. Intel Platform Trust, so turn that off, which I think for this particular laptop, it's called Security Device Support. And CFG lock must be turned off, which you could also turn off, but also enable this inside the config. Enable VT-X above 4G decoding, hyperthreading, execute disable bit, EHCI/XHCI handoff, which I don't have most of these in my system. OS type, which pretty much is what my CSM is for this. Make sure that if this is set to this, make sure it's set to other OSs instead. DVMT pre-allocated iGPU memory should be set to 64 megabytes or higher. I have it set to 128, but I might turn it up to 256. And SATA mode should be set to AHCI. Once this is done, edit a couple extra values. So here, this is where you can open up the config again, but I've already done this. Installation process. This pretty much, once you've set up Opencore, you can technically now boot into the macOS setup. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to save changes. I'm going to press escape because I also have enabled CSM. God damn it. Okay, hold on. So we need to go to UEFI USB. That is normal. That will show up. It does take a little bit to, you know, show up the boot options. Press space to show auxiliary, and just like that you will see the USB name. Press enter. If you see external DMG, that's what you need to boot into this. If you don't, then this is where you admit that you are stuck, and then you go into the Hackintosh Discord server to ask for help. So this is the process that will take the longest, so give it time. Get a cup of water, get a cup of coffee maybe. Just like that, your macOS will now start booting. Sorry, should I say your macOS install will start booting. I had the verbose off, so hence why you see the loading bar. Okay, the thing normally doesn't glitch this bad, by the way. So, I'm already connected to my Wi-Fi. That's wonderful. So, we'll go to this utility. You need to press View, Show All Devices, and then bada boom, you'll see your SSD. You need to press Erase, because you will need to do this. Name your SSD as that. Make sure it's set to APFS and guide partition map. Press Erase. Bye-bye to your previous install. If you haven't backed up, back up now before erasing. And just like that is done. Press Done to continue. Close out this utility. Press Reinstall macOS Monterey or whatever macOS version you've got. I'm going to try doing this through Wi-Fi. I don't know if this will work. I don't know, so press continue. It does recommend you to do this through Ethernet, which I may have to do, but loading installation information, this is a good sign if you see this. If you get the pinwheel of death, yeah, I don't know, to be honest. Just like that, it's working. So press agree again, install it to your SSD, and press continue. My computer is not connected to a power source. Now we are installing. Ignore the progress bar. It is incorrect. I'm going to speed up the process because this will take actually a very long while. So I'll meet you guys when we're back. Now that we have macOS installed, you still need your USB plugged in because we need to download a little tool real quick to make it so we don't need our USB to boot. So I'm surprised I didn't have to enter my. So open up Safari, just type up google.com. Honestly, Mount EFI. Download the one from. I can't zoom in. How do I zoom in? Okay, sorry about that. I just need to figure out how to zoom in. So you need to download the one from, the same dev as all the other tools I've recommended so far. So click on this. It should open up GitHub, and it should only be the GitHub download link. I'll also leave this in the description of this video. Press code once again. Press download zip. Press allow, just like that. Press this. Forgot about that. You need to download Python as well for macOS. That is honestly my bad. So download the one for macOS, press allow. Just let it download in the background. Should open up this installer right here. Press continue, continue, press agree. It'll take up 178 megabytes of your space. Enter the password, let it install. And then when it's done installing, then we can run mount EFI. Now that Python's installed, we're going to run mountefi.command. It should open up terminal. Right, just literally do this and then press open again. Now that you're here, you need to mount your installs EFI. So press your install. So that for me, that is one. Enter your macOS password and bada bing, bada boom, it's there. Now you'll see this. Yeah. Bye it. Then go into your macOS recovery USB, copy that, put that into your EFI folder. Just like that. That is how you boot macOS without a USB. Once you've mounted the EFI, now you need to go into your Spotlight search by pressing the Windows key in space, or if you're actually doing this on a Mac, press Command in space and type up disk utility. Also, ignore the date. It's totally not 3 months later as I'm recording this. Anyways, we're going to press your main drive that you want. So the same one that you've got your Hackintosh on. Press partition. Because this is a 240 gig SSD, I'm just going to do press plus, add partition. And because I don't want to give it 120, I'm going to give it exactly 64. Mainly because I do not want Windows taking all of it, because I hate Windows with a damn passion. So we're going to format it as MS-DOS FAT. We're going to name this Windows, because why the hell not? Just like that. Now press apply. It says partition device, Intel SSD media. Partition this device will change some of the partitions. The partitions will be erased. This partition will be added. Windows. This partition will be resized. Press partition. Resizing the cell volume will cause this computer to stop responding. Just press continue. It's completely okay. As you can see, it just does this. You cannot do anything else while it's waiting. You're just stuck on disk utility the entire time. Also, I'm following this tutorial right here. I'll leave a link to this in the description below. This is what I'm doing. You can do this either in MS-DOS FAT or exFAT. It doesn't really matter as long as it's supported by the Windows setup itself, which both of these formats are. Okay, once this is done, you do not need macOS anymore. So you just press restart. And of course, press restart again. Okay, once you have restarted, you need to boot into your Windows USB. So because I've got a Ventoy USB, I'm doing this inside of Ventoy. I'm just going to install LT. We're going to install Windows 10 20H1 just because it's the latest version of Windows that I have. So let this boot into the setup and we can continue from there. Once you've got your Windows setup, loaded on this screen as well, just set this to your country. So because I'm in Australia, I'm going to do English Australia. And then click next, press install now. Just press I don't have a product key for the time being. For this instance, I'm just going to do Windows 10 Pro. Press I accept the license terms. Press next. Press custom. Now, right here, you should see your drive that you've formatted into a FAT or exFAT. As you can see, this is Windows. You just press delete, press OK. And just like that, it'll be unallocated. You think you could press next? Well, you are wrong. So for the next one, you need to press Shift and F10. Then you need to type up diskpart. Type up list disk. It'll show up with all the drives. The drive that you will need is the drive that is bigger than, in my instance, the drive I'm using is bigger than all my other drives. So select disk 0. Now it's selected. If you need proof, you can press list part and it should show up like this. However, if you also need proof, if you need other drives, just type list part on all the other drives as well. However, for this instance, disk 0 is the right one and it should look like this or something similar. Next thing you want to do is type create partition EFI size equals 100, just like that. I'll also put it as a bit of text on the screen, but also in the description below. Press enter. This part succeeded and created the specified partition. Now you want to do format quick fs equals fat 32 label equals system, just like that. I also put the text on the screen again. Press enter, just like that is done. You will want to assign it, so type in assign letter equals s. Hopefully that has successfully assigned the drive. You want to create another partition. So create partition MSR size equals 16, just like that. Then create partition primary. After that, you'll want to do format quick fs equals ntfs space label equals, let's just say Windows. I'm kidding. For this purpose, I'm going to just do Windows and press enter. This should take the longest out of all of it. So if this fails, you are going to have to do all this again, most likely. Once that's done, you want to type assign letter equals W. Just like that, it has been assigned. Now that you're done, you want to list volume, just like that. Volume 5 is your Windows drive with 59 gigs. Your system drive should be volume 6, just like that. After that, you want to just type in exit to exit this part. You want to get dism/get/wimfo/wimfile, then your ISO. So for me, that is G. So G sources install.esd, or in this instance, I think mine might be .wim, and then press enter. This should come up just like that. So you got Windows 10 Home, Windows 10 Home N, Home Single Language, and so on and so forth. So because I want to do this on Pro, I'm going to do dism/apply-image/imagefile G sources/install.wim. If you have ESD, just do ESD/index. And where is Windows 10 Pro? So that would be number 6/ApplyDir W. Just like that. Now this will take a bit of time, so I'll meet you guys when I'm back. Once this is done, you want to type bcdboot w/windows/s/f UEFI. This, I'll also put this onto the screen right now and also in the description as I mentioned with all the other commands. Press enter. Should say boot file successfully created. Once this is done, you can close out of command prompt, close out the setup altogether, press yes, close out this again, press yes again. Just like that, we are rebooting. You can unplug your Windows USB now, and in theory, it should show up like that. Press enter. It should be booting up Windows now. Now, of course, this is Windows 10 because this laptop is not supported by Windows 11, which is sad because I actually don't mind Windows 11, as you can see by my primary computer, which is also what I'm watching the tutorial off. You can install Windows 10 or 11 inside of your current Hackintosh install on the same drive. So this will take a little bit because, of course, like Windows trying to get everything ready and getting it all working in a way. So I'll meet you guys when we're on the Windows setup. Once your Windows is up and running like this, just start off with your region, just follow the basic Windows settings, or Windows setup. So because it auto defaults to United States, you gotta select your own country. So for me, I am in Australia. Press your region or country, should I say, and press yes. Choose your keyboard layout, which because I, again, am in Australia, we use the US style keyboard layout. I do not want to add a second keyboard layout. Thank you very much. If you care about your privacy, press I don't have internet. Press continue limited setup. Windows 10 license agreement. Just press agree. Who's going to use this PC? Oh, I don't know. Me? I'm kidding. Dencrn. I'm going to type a very secure password. And honestly, do not do what I'm about to do. The security questions, I literally just press A on all the security questions. Very unsafe, but I recommend you actually put proper effort into your password security, because security is very important and you shouldn't have the same password for absolutely everything. I've learned from that lesson, and I hope many of you have learned from that as well. Now, the Windows setup has been completed, so all you really need to do now is just install drivers, and bada bing, bada boom, you are done. And that is how you install Windows alongside your Hackintosh install. Thank you all very much for watching this very long Dencrn video. I'm so sorry that I have not uploaded in so damn long. Life has gotten to me a bit. So yeah, hopefully there's a new video out next month, maybe, who knows. I'm not entirely sure on what to make yet. If you want to leave a suggestion on what I should upload next, definitely write it down in the comment section down below. Thank you all very much for watching this Dencrn video. If you happen to enjoy it and you want to see more, definitely consider subscribing. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.